I want to talk a little bit about the different parts of the mind. Typically, there are multiple aspects to the mind. According to the yoga tradition, you'll hear the discussion around the manas, which is the sense perceiver. It's the part of us that is really, it's our cognition taking in all the information from the outside world and trying to process that. And then there's the ahamkara, which is the part of our mind that is deciding, what does this information have to do with me? And so that's what we call identity, or the ego, ahamkara, according to the yogis, okay? So ahamkara, this part of us that is discerning what everything that's going on around us has to do with me, then leads to then there's the storing of all this information, and typically what it has to do with me in our memory banks. And that's called the smriti. Smriti is the part of our mind that is storing information for later use. So if we have an event in our life that leads to a personal experience, a perception, we then store it away for later, presumably to keep us from doing something that may have caused harm earlier, later in life, as a survival mechanism, to say, like, if I remember that going to the, that part of the forest was dangerous, then I'm not going to go there again. Okay, and then we have, from that point, our perception is twisted, and this is called avidya. And avidya is kind of where the yogic path begins. It's where Patanjali, which is the compiler of the Yoga Sutras, basically is saying, we all start from this twisted perception of reality, distorted by how we perceive all the outside information that's coming in through our senses, and how we then file it away with, how we then organize it in relationship to me, and then we store it away for later use. This all leads to a twisted perception of reality, our own clouded or our distorted version of what life is. Okay, and this is deeply the human experience, and it's rooted within all of us. And to understand that this is our process of how things go is massive, because it gives us a way out. It gives us a opportunity to find freedom within this process. The process doesn't stop, but if we know that it's happening, we can then decide what we store away with in our memory banks. We can dig up old memories and reorganize them and change them in order to suit our life today. For example, if you have a past experience that told you that the world is a certain way, and you keep viewing the world that way, which we all do, say you had a mother figure or father figure, for that matter, whatever, a parent figure that gave you an experience that was negative, and your worldview then said all female or all male figures are this way, then with every interaction that you have, you've got this twisted perception, avidya, of what it's going to be like, and therefore your brain is starting to pick out all the similarities and then continues to form a case for why you're right. Okay, this is what we all do, and to be aware of this is a really powerful skill to have, because it allows us to become free of that past lens that we're holding on, that twisted perception that is our reality. Okay, and what does that is the buddhi, the intellect. So what is able to discern and basically take all of this information that's coming in from the outside world, and then we then take it and say, like, well, what does this have to do with me? Ego, ahamkara, and then we store it away in our memory banks, and then it becomes a twisted perception of the way that we see life, right? So the buddhi, which is like the, I would say the higher part of the mind, because it allows us to judge and discern this part. It allows us to actually look at our mind. It's the part of the mind that can look at the mind. And what's also interesting about the Buddhi is it's the part of our mind that can also reflect inward, introspectively, beyond the mind and its experiences, but it can have an understanding of what's beyond the mind. It's the part of us that is capable of seeing all that is. And I don't want to say experiencing, but more like witnessing the deeper aspects of life itself. We can call it spirituality, or we could just call it energy, whatever you want to call it. So the Buddhi is B-U-D-D, I think it's two T. Yes, B-U-D-D-H-I. The Buddhi is really a powerful, let me just see 1 second. I don't think did we get it? Yes, okay. The Buddhi is this part of the mind that is able to discern, it's able to have discernment and judgment about our out or exteroception, our perception of the outside world, and our introception, our ability to see deeper than the outer circumstances and beyond even the layers of the mind. And what I'm saying here is, or why I'm struggling to kind of lay this out, is because we have layers to our being, and the mind is typically considered the third layer deep, okay? And beyond those layers, we have things like bliss and awareness as deeper layers. And I don't want to get too deep into those for this immersion. Maybe we'll go further into the, further on into this immersion. But for right now, I think really focusing on the mind and how it functions is really important, because with this Buddhi, this intellect, we have the ability to dissolve, or what I would like to say, stretch our ahamkara's capacity. So when it says, what does this have to do with me? That's the question that the ahamkara asks. We can include more than the limitations of our past experiences in that question. We can go beyond the limited roles that we play in society. We can ask that question, what does this have to do with me and everything around me and within me? We can stretch the role of the ego to be inclusive of all there is, not just this little piece of me, meaning the parts of me of I'm a yoga teacher, I'm a husband, I'm a male, right? These are all identities that we live within in our society, and we're not trying to get rid of these identities, at least in the tantric lineage of yoga. We're not trying to say I'm not these things, which is maybe perhaps the more traditional version of yoga conversation, like let's abolish the ego. But rather in the tantric lineage, why I really appreciate it is it says, no, actually you are all those things. You are a yoga teacher, you are a human being, you are American or whatever it might be. You have all these identities, but the mistake is not going big enough. You actually haven't gone to the fullest. You haven't embraced all that you are. You've only embraced a piece of who you are, a very small segment of your identity. So rather than trying to abolish the ego, expand it. Empower it to see the fullness of all there is within you and all around you, that you are part of this current of energy, what we call consciousness in the tantric tradition. Okay, consciousness is flowing through all of us, and when we can identify with the consciousness itself, the fullness of energy that's flowing through each of us, then we recognize that our separation is merely a temporary experience, so that we can have the privilege to enjoy life from a separate viewpoint, so that we can see things, because when things are all one, which is magnificent, right, that we have this, but oneness can't see itself, oneness can't experience itself, oneness just isness, right? So oneness can't reflect upon itself, it just is. So Tantric says oneness divides itself up, such as light itself has no color until it fractals off, when it hits the atmosphere and it hits certain, when, let's say, after it rains and there's certain moisture hits the air, then you have all these different shades of color, all these different colors within the one light. Now, the one light can only really experience the beauty of itself when it fractals off into all these different colors. And that, in a sense, is what Tantra is saying we as humans are. We're fractals of one big energy, and energy itself wants to experience itself, and so it creates separation temporarily. Like a lovely example, and we'll stop with this because we got to get going, is that the ocean, when it throws up a wave, all these drops come into the air, right? And each of these drops are separated by space and time, but in essence they are just the ocean itself. But for a moment in time, they are separate. They're still the ocean. The contents of the ocean are within each drop, which is magnificent. When we think about it, it's like these are the ocean, but they're having an experience of separation through time and space. And that's what we are as humans. The vast ocean of consciousness having an experience within separation of time and space. Okay? So how do we get back to the awareness that we are the ocean is the question, and that's what the yoga practice is all about. And it's not just asana, but it's not just meditation or even just pranayama. There's a host of yoga practices that help us to untwist the avidya, the twisted perception, and get us back to at least the first step is to get back to the awareness that we are part, or there is this current of energy that is pulsing through us. And this experience of recognizing that as the drop, we are the ocean. When we have that moment of awareness, that's the buddhi that's able to discern and reflect and say like, oh, I get it now. I am the ocean. I am just having a moment in time where I'm separating from it. That's the buddhi, the intellect that can just to have that experience, or can at least see it, can reflect upon it. And we can have this conversation because of the buddhi. And so the experience of recognizing that we are actually the ocean, this is called samadhi. That's the state of oneness where the ego dissolves temporarily for us to be able to feel into the fullness of life itself, to feel the connectivity to the ocean and recognize that the contents of the ocean of consciousness is within this drop that we are. And so samadhi is not really, it's not enlightenment per se. It's not a constant state of awakenment or anything like that. It is literally a moment that we each can have right now if we choose to be completely fully in this moment and allow the dissolution or the dissolving of separation for just a moment in time. So you can't focus on the separation, but you can focus on, because if you focus on separation, you'll experience more of it. But if you focus on that the space between the breath, the nothingness between each breath, or even the breath itself, the fullness of the breath, either way, but typically the nothingness helps to pull the mind into the spaciousness. There's this dissolving of the ego that can happen in that place, and you will feel it when it happens, because there's like almost a clarity that comes over you. And it's in that place where you have the opportunity to use the buddhi, the intellect, to then reorganize the way that you perceive everything outside of you. Okay, this is a lot. I know this is really a lot of information. I'm just trying to throw it at you so we have some context. All right, let's get rolling. Come to all fours, hands and knees. Let's take a breath in, arch the back. My leg is asleep, that's fun. As you exhale, round the back, gaze towards your navel. Inhale, arch and look up. Exhale, round. Inhale, arch and look up. Hey, Patricia, welcome in. Exhale, round. Inhale, arch and look up. Please tuck the toes. Exhale, Adho Mukha Svanasana, down dog. You can pedal out the legs if you like, or just move the hips a little side to side. On the next inhale, let's take the right leg to the sky. Step right foot forward. High up on the fingertips. Draw the legs toward each other. Take a breath into the upper back. Hey, Sabui, welcome in. Exhale it out. Press through your right heel. Let's take the right hand on the thigh. Turn the belly, turn the chest. Pull the right shoulder back, reach the right hand to the sky. Inhale here. Back leg is still pulling towards the front leg. Hips are lifted. Another breath in. And one more. Place your right forearm on your thigh. Pivot the back heel down, side angle preparation. Pull your feet toward each other, lift the hips, and press down through your right heel so your pubic bone lifts up slightly away from the earth. Pull the left shoulder back, pressing down through the right heel, left hand to the sky. Inhale here. Pay attention to the little moment at the top of the inhale, and then as you exhale, let there be that little bit of a moment of lingering at the bottom of the exhale. So like a stillness between the breaths. Stillness. Okay, both hands to the ground. Pivot the back heel up on the inhale, straighten through the front leg, look forward. Optionally, flex the front foot and bow. Round the back by pulling the front ribs in. Breathe into the back of your heart. And look towards your navel. So draw the chin to the chest to stretch the back line, the occipital ridge there along the back of the neck. And one more breath. Bend the front knee on the inhale. Step to down dog as you exhale. Forward to plank pose, roll into it. Place the knees down, exhale, lower. Slide hands and feet wide. Inhale, lift the front body. Soften the low and middle back down towards the earth. Let the shoulders roll back. Inhale, lift the heart, or stretch the heart forward, lift the belly. Exhale, release. All fours, hands and knees. Tuck toes, exhale, down dog. Left leg to the sky, inhale. Step forward. High up on the fingertips, let's take a breath. Pull your feet toward each other and press down through the left heel. Now we're focusing, while we breathe, the sound of Ujjayi, steady, even breaths, the little bit of a lingering moment between the breaths. And this is one of the places that we can experience samadhi the easiest, that disillusion or that feeling of being connected even to the fullness of all there is, can happen in the emptiness, which is very interesting to think about, the emptiness between the fullness of the breath. So all there is includes both emptiness and fullness. Take the left hand to the thigh. Turn the belly, turn the chest. This is one of the hard things that for the mind to comprehend is that duality, the two ends of a spectrum, left hand to the sky, the inhale and the exhale are all part of an experience of the whole. The space between the movements or the stillness between movement is all part or can all be one. But the intellect, buddhi, it divides things into two parts. And so that's how we understand reality, but it makes it very hard for us to understand fullness or to understand oneness, because the buddhi's job is to divide things in two parts. And that's how we basically have understood reality. Release the left hand to the forearm to the thigh, back heel down, right hand to the hip. Pull the feet toward each other and press the left heel down. As you do so, you can tuck your tail slightly underneath. This will help to turn the belly and the chest. Right hand to the sky. So not only do we pay attention to the breath, which is movement, but we also pay attention to the stillness between the breaths. So emphasize just a little bit the lingering moment at the end of the exhales and at the top of the inhales. And try to feel into that space. Release the hands to the ground, back heel pivots up. Draw the feet toward each other as you lift your hips and straighten the left leg. Optionally, flex the front foot, round the upper back, look towards your navel and bow. Pay attention to that space between the breaths. Bend the front knee on the inhale. Step to down dog as you exhale. Forward to plank, inhale. Chaturanga. Hands and feet wide, inhale, lift front body. Melt, relax the low back and midsection. Shoulders back. Press the low back and midsection forward as you stretch the belly up to the top of the head. Exhale, release. All fours. Exhale, down dog. Right leg to the sky. Step forward. Inhale, get strong in the legs. Twist, turn the belly, turn the chest, right hand to the sky. Inhale, right hand back down, this time to the inside of the right foot. Turn the back heel down. Exhale, twist, left hand to the sky. Inhale, both hands to the ground. Step to down dog. Right away, left leg to the sky, left leg up. Step forward. Take a breath in, get light. Left hand to the sky, twist. Inhale, unwind, hand to the inside of the foot, back heel down. Exhale, twist, right hand to the sky. Inhale, both hands down, pivot the back heel up, step to down dog. Forward to plank. Chaturanga. Slide hands and feet wide, inhale, lift. Exhale, soften, lengthen, release. Inhale, all fours. Exhale, down dog. Let's enjoy a few breaths here. And as you feel into the breath, try to connect to that space between the breaths as well. So the breath itself would be considered fullness or Shakti, power. The space between the breath, emptiness, which is the contrasting or complementing other side to fullness. They're both required in the unity of all there is. And this is called Shiva, or the transcendent void sometimes might be referred to. The nothingness, the emptiness. Lift the heels up on the inhale, look forward. Empty the breath, walk, step, or hop to the front. Halfway lift on the inhale. Exhale. Hands to the hips, arch the back, rise all the way up to stand. Tadasana. Let's take one more breath here. Urdhva Hastasana. Inhale, reach up. Linger at the top. Exhale, bow. Linger at the bottom. Inhale, half lift. Linger at the top. Left foot back, exhale. High lunge, rise up, inhale. Hold here. Press the back foot down and draw your 2 feet toward each other. Get strong in the legs. Lift through the sides of the ribs, all the way up through the hands. Take the fingertips back. Take the gaze upward slightly. Let's do 2 more breaths. Pay attention to that moment between the breaths. Hands to the ground. Plank pose, inhale. Chaturanga. Hands and feet wide. Inhale, lift front body. Soften, melt. Lengthen. Release. All fours. Down dog. One more breath here. Right leg to the sky, inhale. Step forward, high lunge. Rise, inhale. Open up, warrior 2. Pause here, press your feet down and draw them toward each other. Stay with the connection to your breath. The ahamkara is the part of our mind, the little statement inside of us that asks, I wouldn't say not a statement, a question that asks, what does this have to do with me? As you get into this pose, your smriti, your memory bank, has a perception about who you are. It has memories about past experiences of being in a strong pose, or it has a connection to previous identities that are now wrapped up with your current identity. And it may or may not limit you to your ability to do this posture and focus on the breath. Okay, if we allow it, we can re-identify with the one that is breathing, the one that is connected to this ever current source of energy, of consciousness within us. And from that place of being connected to the fullness of consciousness, in spite of the body, of course, always having room for improvement, for strength and all that other stuff, there's a greater well of energy within all of us when we're connected to the fullness of who we are. When we recognize that we're not just limited by our quadriceps or something of this nature. Reverse warrior, inhale. Exhale, hands to the ground. Slowly pivot the back heel up. Step forward, half lift. Exhale, bow forward. Rise to the sun, high lunge, Ardha Hastasana. Let's go right to the earth, bow, Uttanasana. Remember the stillness. Inhale, half lift. Right foot back. High lunge, rise. Press your 2 feet down strongly, draw them toward each other, and get lifted, get light in the midsection. Can we go beyond our limiting beliefs that we are just a separate entity and recognize that there is a current of energy, yogis call this consciousness, that is within us? Just like the ocean that has the fullness of power inside of it, we contain the ocean within us, like the drop, right, that has all of the ocean's energy. We too have that same energy. We are the ocean. Take one more big breath in. And release. Hands to the ground. With control, plank. Chaturanga. Slide hands and feet wide. Inhale. Soften. Lengthen. Release. All fours. Downward dog. We get one breath to remind ourselves of that space between the inhales and the exhales. Left leg up, inhale. Step. High lunge, rise. Warrior two. Pressing the feet down, gathering strength inward, using, of course, this physical body that we have, which is momentarily a separate being physically from the rest of nature. But recognizing that it also has the power of life within this physical form. And that can seem so ridiculous at times, but when you recognize that there is energy inside this body, causing the heart to beat, allowing the breath to move, and even allowing us to have this thought right now and this experience, that there is something much bigger within us than our small identities that the ahamkara creates for us and the smriti memorizes for us, that we have something much more powerful within us than the smallness of our identity. That's where we gain our biggest strength, on the mat and off the mat. One more breath. Reverse warrior, inhale. Hands to the ground. Pivot the back heel up. Square the hips, step forward. Exhale, bow. To the sunrise. To the heart. Inhale, reach up. To the earth. Half lift. Step or hop, chaturanga. Slide hands and feet wide. Inhale. Lengthen. Release. All fours. Down dog. Let's flow. Right leg to the sky. Step forward. High lunge, rise. Warrior two. Reverse. Right to chaturanga, exhale. Just keep the breath slow and steady. Upward dog or cobra, your choice, one breath only. Exhale, down dog. Left leg to the sky. Step. Rise. Keep the lingering. Warrior two. Linger. Reverse. Hands to the ground, chaturanga. Slow and steady, long breath. Cobra or up dog, your choice, one breath. Exhale to down dog. Let's do 3 breaths. Inhale. Linger between the breaths. In that lingering, we can experience samadhi, where we recognize that we are a drop, but within this drop, the separateness of who we are, we contain the fullness of all there is. And for a moment, the space between us and all there is dissolves. Lift the heels on the next breath in. Gaze forward on the exhale, hop or step. Half lift in the inhale. Exhale, bow. Please bend the knees. Come to chair pose. Inhale. Move the knees and hips back. Keep the chest lifted so the low back is in an arched position and is active. Get long, get light. Try to go beyond what your memory tells you you are, and instead go into the fullness of all you are. And we do that by softening our outer perspective or relaxing the eyes, and so you're not distracted by the manas, the senses, but rather you can turn inward with the buddhi, the intellect, and experience the fullness of energy within you. So there's a lot of practices in yoga of relaxing the senses so that that part of us that is the sense perceiver, the manas, can relax for a moment. So we can turn our attention to the fullness of everything within us. One more breath. Bow forward. We'll take an inhale to halfway lift and prepare. Step or hop, chaturanga. Slide hands and feet wide, inhale. Soften. That's 3-part cobra. One more breath in. Exhale, release. Plank or all fours. Down dog, exhale. Right leg to the sky. Step forward. This time high lunge, but hands to the front thigh as you exhale. So round the back. Take the left tricep to the right thigh. Keep the upper back full, lifted, light. Legs strong. Take a full breath in to the back body. On the exhale, turn your belly to the right. 2 more breaths. Keep the back leg strong, pressing down into the ground. One more breath. On the inhale, start to unwind. You can open up warrior two. Reverse warrior. Let's come to warrior two again and interlace the hands behind the back. Lift the shoulders up, inhale. Pull your elbows and shoulders together or towards each other in the backside. Stretch the hands back behind you. One more breath in, lift the heart. Bow to the inside of the right leg, humble warrior. Start to look towards your navel, around the upper back. Within the intensity of the individual experience of this body, can we also tap into the fullness of all there is within us and all around us? This is the goal, at least the first portion of yoga, is to recognize the individuality that we are, but also experience the fullness of all we are, beyond the confines of the roles we play in society or the limitations of our individual body. Release the hands to the ground. Pivot the back heel up. We're going to step right foot back into side plank. Optionally, keep the right fingertips down as I have here. Or if you can, take the right hand up to the sky. Full breath in. Full breath out. Full breath in. Linger at the top. Exhale it out. Linger at the bottom. One more. Inhale. On the exhale, right hand to the ground with control, chaturanga. Three-part cobra. Inhale. Melt. Lengthen. Release. All fours, hands and knees. Down dog, exhale. Left leg to the sky. Step. Rise, high lunge. Hands to the front thigh. Strong in the legs, round the upper back. Right tricep, left thigh. Palms connect. With strength in the legs, round the upper back. Turn on the exhale, turn the belly. Start to unwind on the inhale. Warrior two. Reverse warrior. Back to warrior two. Hands behind the back. Inhale, shoulders up. Exhale, shoulders back. Hands back. Slide the hips back. Bow to the inside of your left leg. Find that space between the breaths, reminding you of all there is. Releasing the tension of the ego, trying to hold this false identity of smallness, and in stretching its capacity to see the fullness of all we are. Okay, releasing the hands to the ground. Step the left foot back next to the right. Pivot onto the outside edge of the right foot. Either stay on fingertips or left hand to the sky. 3 breaths. Get lifted, get light. Tap into the strength that is beyond this body. Stretch the confines of the ego into the fullness of all there is. Left hand comes to the ground. As soon as it does, bend the elbows. 3-part cobra. Inhale. Soften. lengthen. Release. All fours or plank. Down dog. 3 breaths. Lift the heels up on the inhale, look forward. Empty the breath, hop or step to the front. Half lift on the inhale. Exhale, bow. Chair pose, bend the knees. Left tricep, right thigh twist. Use the inhale to round the upper back, get lighter. Turn the left side of the rib cage underneath. Find the space between the breaths. The exhales are for turning and twisting. The inhales are for getting lighter. The space between are for the mind, trying to dissolve the limitedness of the ego, the ahamkara. Gaze down on the inhale, get light in the left foot. Slide the left foot back as you exhale. Take 1 breath in. Turn as you exhale. On this inhale, start to unwind slowly. Pivot the back heel down. Take the right hand down. Option 1, humble warrior with both elbows bent. Option 2, you can take either a half bind or a full bind. If you're going for the full bind, or half bind for that matter, scoop the tailbone underneath a little bit, roll the shoulders back. Let's do 3 breaths. One more breath. Okay, release the hands. Pivot the back heel up. We're going to step forward on the inhale. Exhale and bow forward. Bend the knees on the inhale. Twist to the left. Right about this point is where the mind starts giving up, starts telling you the I am statements. Instead, can you tap into the fullness of your breath and the emptiness, the connection to all there is. Stay connected to that recognition that while we are a drop within space and time, we contain the power of the fullness of ocean within us. One more breath here. Gaze down at the left foot. Lift the right heel. On the exhale, slide the right foot back. Inhale to get lighter, lifted. Exhale for an integral twist. Start to unwind on the inhale. Hands to the inside of the foot, pivot the back heel down. Either coming to a lifted chest and bowing, or staying here to, or if you would like, you can take a bind. Binds and twist. Scoop the tailbone, rotate the heart, pull the shoulder back. Binds and twist are nice little physical on the mat practices to recognize what it feels like to be confined. And within that confinement of the twist or the bind in this case, can we find the expansive freedom within? The ego, ahamkara, binds us, it limits us, It's like being in a twist, like being in a bind constantly in life. The buddhi, the intellect, has the ability to see beyond the limitedness of our identities. Allows us to experience freedom within the roles we play in society. Of course, nothing changes necessarily on the outside, but our experience internally can change. And from that, our actions can shift. Hands to the ground, and our actions might then be able to change our external experience. Step forward, inhale. Stick the bum up, exhale, bow. Separate the feet, interlace the hands, stretch the shoulders, relax the head. Let the breath calm down. 2 more. Okay, release the hands. Come to a halfway lifted position. Hold here. 2 more breaths. All right, come to a seated position of your choosing. I'm going to choose a block. In Virasana, you can choose a cross-legged seat. You can sit in a chair, is very recommended. I think it's one of the best places to practice meditation is when your body is not causing you to be distracted, right? To go beyond the confines of the drop. We can't be distracted by the problems within the drop. It's very challenging. It's not to say that there aren't practices to address the problems. That's why we're doing asana. There's psychology to address the problems within the mind, right? There's all sorts of practices within the yoga and outside of yoga where we can address the problems within the drop. And there's multiple, and those are necessary. And you'll see in certain meditations, we're going to be addressing our psychology. In the asana practice, we're going to be addressing our physical body. Okay, so these are not to be avoided. However, when trying to take a momentary release from the drop, if you're distracted by the drop itself, it's very hard. So you want to get yourself into a position where you're not going to be distracted so much by the discomforts of the body. And I will say that it is normal if you are. Most people do feel complete discomfort when they practice meditation for the first time or the first year even, until the body gets strong enough to have a seated position. But a lot of the times the discomforts are just the body's way of, or the mind's way of trying to pull you out of experiencing the fullness of all there is, because the ego is always trying to limit ourselves. It's always going to try to keep that, and it's fragile. It recognizes that its definition of who we are is fragile, and it doesn't, and it's trying to keep us safe. So it's with good intention. It wants to keep us in a little bubble of safety. It's like a parent that's kind of always there trying to be overprotective. And so what we need to do is recognize that it's going to always try to hold on, and say, yeah, I get it. Let's just see what else is there. I'm ready. Okay. Today we're going to add a different type of breathing called, let me show you first. Take your index finger and middle finger and fold them into your palm on the right hand, so you have your thumb and your ring finger available. It's called Nadi Shodhana. Your right thumb will just gently rest on the right nostril. You can inhale through the left nostril. At the top, we linger for a moment. That's that stillness. And then you close off the left nostril with your ring finger and exhale through the right. At the bottom, we linger for a moment. And we inhale. Linger at the top. Close the right, exhale through the left. Okay, so pause for a second. I'll give you a couple of tips. A lot of people, like myself included, deviated septums, things like this, it's hard. And even just if you're more awake, you're going to feel one nostril more closed than the other or open than the other. And if you're more asleep, one nostril is going to be more closed than the other. This is normal, and it might be hard to breathe out of one nostril or the other. The trick is to dilate the nostrils as much as you can, try to flare them and widen them, and you can actually open up that space. Now, how do you flare and how do you widen them? How do you dilate the nostrils? You try to do it, and then over time those muscles get better at that, and you'll be able to nasal breathe more evenly on both sides. Of course, deviated septums are going to come into play. I have one myself, but you can still increase by dilating the nasal passage. You can increase the amount of airflow, and it can be really quite amazing how free it can make it to breathe through the nose. Okay, so let's do a few rounds of Nadi Shodhana with these kumbhak. Kumbhaks are the breath retention, just gentle, and it's not about holding the breath as it is just allowing it not to exhale or allowing it not to inhale, just being in the fullness of the complete inhale and being in the emptiness of the exhale. So right thumb over right nostril, dilate the left nostril and inhale. Linger at the top. Stay in the fullness without holding, really. Exhale through the right. Calmly linger at the bottom in the space between the breaths. Inhale through the right. Linger at the top in the fullness of all there is. Exhale through the left. Linger at the bottom in the emptiness. Continue. At your own pace. It's okay to go a little faster, a little slower. It's okay if you can't hold as long. Just get into the blissfulness of the energy that is flowing through you, this consciousness that is in the form of breath, what we call prana, life force. Next time you exhale through the left, you can release your hand. Allow your breath to come back to its natural movement. And if you're still controlling the breath, don't worry so much. Don't try to wrestle with yourself. It's okay if you're still controlling the breath. But either way, this place of samadhi, oneness, exists inside all of us. It's not something to be attained, it's just all we need to do is strip away what's holding us back from the experience of it. One easy way to tap into samadhi is by balancing out the parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system, the sun channel and the moon channel. And Nadi Shodhana, which we just did, is to help that. It's to stimulate both sides, and in hopes to stimulate the Sushumna Nadi, which is the central channel according to yogis, which would be the balance of the two sides of the nervous system. Now what you could do is continue Nadi Shodhana, or so if the mind is racing, definitely do Nadi Shodhana. Or if you're falling asleep, definitely do Nadi Shodhana. If you feel somewhat balanced in this experience of being here, neither falling asleep or too awake, then we'll do the next exercise, which is just intentional breath in and observing the stillness between the inhale and the exhale. So you can try it with me, a gentle inhale through the nose. Hold in a gentle stillness at the top. And exhale it out. Hold at the bottom and observe. Inhale. Stillness, emptiness at the top. Exhale. Stillness, emptiness. Inhale, fill up. Stillness, oneness. Exhale. Let the breath return back to its normal state. Optionally, you may take Shavasana at this point in time. Those of you that are newer to meditation, it might be useful to lay on your back and let your body rest, as it can still be very challenging to sit upright if you're newer to meditation. So laying on your back can be really important to digest the asana practice. For some of you, seated meditation is well practiced and can be rejuvenating even while being upright. So in that case, you may stay. We have a great opportunity within the seated practice of meditation to maintain both that fully awake yet not distracted by external stimulation. So neither in the sympathetic exteroception, that outer world perception, and at the same time not falling asleep. What you can focus on now if you're in either position, whether you're seated or in Shavasana, is the base of your pelvic floor, where it's said that we have this coiled snake of energy called Kundalini. You just call it energy if you want the science. It's just where your spinal cord runs down and branches off into tons of nerves, this electrical system inside of our body. Yogis call this the Kundalini that is latent within us, the spiritual energy inside of us that can be woke up. There's nothing really to do other than observe the pelvic floor and the space that goes all the way up through the crown of the head. So think of a dome at the base of your pelvis, full of energy, and visualize a drawing of that energy upward in a helix-like experience, a coiling or a spiraling of energy upward through the central column of your body, up through the crown of the head, and beyond it. Visualize the fullness of all there is, the entire ocean within you, consciousness. Spiraling upward. Through the top of the head. Picture this energy flowing from the base of the pelvic floor, spiraling up through the central column, through the top of the head, and connecting to the fullness of the ocean. Attention back to your breath. the space between your breaths. Gently call your attention back to your fingers and toes and waken them. Stretch the arms. If you're in Shavasana, roll to your side. If you're seated, do any other stretches that feel good for you to bring the attention back to the body. And place the hands at the heart. We bow into the heart that pulses inside of us and the bigger heart that pulses within us and all around us. The vast ocean of consciousness that we have the privilege of being a part of, an expression of, and that we can experience through the practice of strengthening the buddhi, the intellect, the part of us that can discern, judge, observe both the outside and the inside, both the limited and the limitless self. The buddhi, the intellect, has that capacity. We bow inward towards each other as well. Thank you all so much for this practice and for sharing your time and your energy with this community. Namaste. All right, everyone. I would encourage you to take this simple practice of breathing in, lingering, and attending or keeping your attention on the space between the breaths, and exhaling, tension between the breaths. Take this into your daily routine of, if you feel stressed, do one round of it. If you feel depleted of energy, do a round of it. If you feel you're in a state of righteousness, do this. If you're in a state of separation, doesn't mean it's going to solve all the problems, but it is a start to reconnect, to try to get back to the realization that we are more than our limited self, that we are connected through the force of energy that is within all of us, that the yogis call consciousness or awareness with a capital A. Thank you for your patience, your practice, your discipline, your attention, and your efforts here today. Look forward to sharing the next one with you, and I hope that this has served you well. And see you on the next one, everybody. Take care. I'll just give a quick shout out to Sabui, Patricia, Rebecca, Nandini, Nina G, Tara, Kristen, Simona, Patty, Lara, Debbie, Nina Mitchell, Mikhail, Nina Eckhart, Emily, anyone else that was here live that's not in the chat. Appreciate you being here, and those of you that were not able to be here live but stepped into the practice afterwards, many thanks. Hey, Kelly. Nice to have you here as well. Thanks for being here. All right, friends. Have a great day.